Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being the show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season 1 finale, maybe even just straight up finale of Detectives These Days Are Crazy. A great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode. Well, first and foremost, let's start off with the first part. I really appreciate that. I think it's so interesting that they decided to have the outro song play at the beginning, but then the intro is just kind of like a whole bunch of just like shots and segments and bits and all this just over the course of the show. I swear I saw a few things mixed in there. I'm like, what was that episode? What episode is that from? There's just a few shots in there. I'm like, am I crazy? Was that in the show? I'm like, I swear there's like one shot where like Mashiro has like big boobs and she slaps maybe Nagumo in the face. I'm like, I don't remember that bit. It probably was in the episode and I just don't remember. Either way, tangents and all that aside, obviously picking up where the last episode left off, they've got 24 hours to pay the back rent that they owe, or the Nagumo detective agency disappears. I mean, at the very least, they lose their office. So essentially, they sign up for what is essentially kind of like a Ninja Warriors type of show, and it's supposed to be like a easy winning thing for Mashiro. I was like, well, what? How is this going to go wrong? Because I'm like, she's proven herself athletic time and time again, but the problem is she got the thing, and because her default action is to sign stuff as Nagumo, he's the one participating, and it's like, that's as good as a loss, because like I think the prize money is like, it's like a little over what they need. I think it's like 3 mil, because they need like 2.5, 2.4 and a half mil now, because they at least had that 50 mil from the cash exchange from their case in the previous episode. But obviously everyone's downplaying and being like, Jesus, like Nagumo won't even kind of make it through. He'll probably die trying to make it through. He's like, whoa. No, they were like, he should might as well just give up. He's like, well, I can at least get through the first chunk. I'm like, can you really? We've seen you time and time again just like fall apart, dude. But then Azua's like, oh my god, I got this like give up humanity option. He's like, no, I'd rather stay human. But Mashiro is like, no, I got an idea. And her idea is for him to wear a giant coat and she hides underneath it, her legs wrapped around him. And they're like, oh my god, look at him. He's so determined. Like, look at the height and power of his shoulders. And the only, like, how Mashiro gets around this is basically they have to jump through this obstacle course and not fall into the water. But like her way around it, even though she can't see, it's just she propels herself forward. She's using her hand, she like flies him forward and skips over the course. And like, oh my god, it's like, is this guy a baboon or a gorilla? Which I think it's funny considering a couple episodes ago was that there was that case where it ended with like the video popping up online, kind of having that like nature documentary approach, kind of treating her like a gorilla. That I think that's kind of like, I think other people has kind of thrown that insult her way as well prior to that too, but either way. So she's able to do that, especially the one where like the second one was like those spike things flowing back and forth like giant like pillars, and got hit by one, but before they could fall into water, Mashiro digs her hand into like the platforms and swings herself off of each one. They're like, oh my god, look at that strength. They were like, what is she, a steroid fueled, was it armor clad Fujiko on a cup? I had to look that up. I was like, what the hell reference is that? Apparently they're like these little figurines of Fujiko, who's like an office lady. It's a line of like these, and basically you put them on the side of cups or on a ledge. It's meant to be kind of like a playful thing. That I was like, apparently they've been around since like 2012. That I don't think I've ever come across these before, but like it's a long line of like these little figurines that represent that, which I was like, that was like a barely scratching the surface thing I looked into. So I could be mistaken. There could be even more to it, but that was my quick Google search about it. And relying on that, was able to get them through most of the challenges pretty easily, except for the final bit, because it's like, yeah, up until this point, they could barely get across because Mashiro's using her hands to like project them forward. I even love them cutting back to like Nezu being like, oh wow, because they're like, oh, is Nagumo okay? It's like, I think even Azua was like, is he even alive at this point? And after all of this, I think they showed the x-ray scan, and he's got like a a kidney stone. It's like, yeah, this putting a lot of pressure on him, and like, you know, especially because while he's doing all this, like Mashiro is like squeezing her legs to keep like her hold on him tight and try not to fly off of him. But she's like, no, I'm gonna see this through. I got this. Because the next part, it's like they have to jump and land on a trampoline and jump off of it and reach the other platform. But she's like, no, I got this. So just jump. And he does, but there's no, like, Mashiro can't reach the ropes above. But then she's like, no, don't underestimate me. So she grabs them with her own hands and then locks her legs around Nagumo's throat. The poor bastard's getting choked out. And she ends up kind of swinging him forward. And he ends up landing on the platform and just casually walks over and hits the button. And the person grabs him on the shoulders like, yo, can I talk to you backstage? Because like, I love that we got zero commentary from anyone else. Just the crowd was quiet when that happened. Because at first it's like, oh my God, he landed it. But then they're just like, quiet. He presses the button and it's like, well, yeah, you're definitely eliminated. There was also this weird bit where I don't know if they're going to constantly flash forward, because I think this might be the third part of the episode where he was bowing down and begging. He's like, please give me more time. And it says 0 hours, but then it rewinds. And I guess it's like, we get to the second part of the episode where it's 12 hours left. I was kind of confused. I was like, wait, what? But it's like, okay, so I guess it's kind of a little, in media res type of situation is how that was supposed to be read. So either way, first attempt to make some money to pay for the rent so you can keep the agency blew up in your face, understandably. Also, how did I expect it to play out any other way? Them to get as far as they did was surprising, but it also makes sense just to get that far, just to have it all ripped away from you. Moving on to the second part of the episode where we have what started kind of like the next schemes or set of schemes they have in an attempt to make money to once again save the agency, is that you apparently left some merchandise behind it. He's made merchandise of himself. It's actually put, I think, money in their pocket, but it's also given them a lot more of a reputation, and I love that Mashiro continues to be so abusive when it comes to you. She just grabs the toy and she's squeezing his head because she's just, like, I think the notion that he's so narcissistic to make his own toy in his own image, it just, like, irritates her. Like, oh, you could use something else to be a promotional material for your agency, but you used yourself, and that kind of irritates her because it's just, and she squishes his head until its head pops off. So she's like, cool, we should do that. But Nagumo had a reminder, we don't have money because it takes time and money to make those and then ship them out, and we just don't have that time. At this point, they're down to 12 hours. So it's Nezu being like, hey, I have the connections, and they're like, oh, you talking about your Yakuza connections? And he immediately kind of moves over that point, but I still have connections. I know how to work business stuff. So he's like, I've come up with 3 ideas. 1, we have a boob mouse pad of Mashiro. 2, we turn the cat Cerberus into our mascot. And 3, we make a song. And I love that the entire bit, 4 times in a row, he said, Nagumo says, what's a boob mouse pad? 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 And even Cerberus is like, are you going to stop? But, Mashiro is against the boob mouse pad thing because she's like, no, we can't do that. Let's kind of work on the other ones. But then they circle back to it. She's like, no, this is so embarrassing. He's like, what, are you like self-conscious? She's like, no, my boobs are shapely. They're in good because I exercise and stuff like that. She's like, I'm not concerned about it. She's like, okay, fine. If you're going to twist my arm about it, I'll be okay with us doing that. And for him, it's just kind of like he makes this face and she's like, haha, I see you making that face like you have a lot to say, but you don't want to say anything because you want to pretend like you're on my side so I don't beat the crap out of you. And what does she do? She proceeds to beat the crap out of him. Mashiro, once again, I think that's just part of the characteristic of just, I've talked about her being violent when it comes to you, to be fair. She's just as violent to perpetrators, Nagumo and Nezu. She's just as mean to them. So he's got some extra mouse pads that they didn't have. They don't have any. They have a full stock of because they're leftovers from when they used them last time, which I love. Nagumo's like, you're just using this as a scheme to get rid of the mouse pads that basically the Yakuza dumped on you. So you're trying to find some practical use for them, an excuse to get rid of them. So Mashiro is supposed to go off and take a photo and come back. But because she doesn't have money for an actual proper photo, she took photos from she took her own photos from a photocopier that she found in a store. And the pictures came out horrible. The mouse pad boobs are on the top of her head instead of like where her boobs are supposed to be, and because of that, it looks like she's got tumors in her head. Plus, the photo is scary as hell. It's like, cool. So that didn't work out. It's like, all right, cool. So let's move on to the next part. Trying to turn Cerberus into a mascot. It's like, okay, does he have anything cool or funny or cool that he can do? It's like, well, he can throw up hairballs the size of a tumbleweed. It's like, well, that doesn't help us. And I love that it's like, oh, this useless cat, and you just see that bit where it's just like Mashiro's punching him in the stomach and he's kicking her in the face, and so next thing is like, okay, we'll dress him up. We'll basically make him, what was it, Nyanlock Holmes. You know, it's like, oh, you swoop up his hair a little bit, his fur a little bit, put some shades on him, put him in like a scruffy like jacket, like a detective's jacket, and then put him in a box. I can only assume that's the box from the mouse pads, because he's like, oh, I put him in a basket, but we don't have a basket, so we use the box. And it just kind of, it's like, well, that doesn't necessarily work either. Oh well, moving on to the third one. I thought it was kind of one or the other, but ultimately it seems like they go with all three. But I guess because all three kind of turned out crap, it's like, well, we might as well try to make the best of it by using all three. But getting into the third option, it ends up being to make the song. And Nezu can do music, he just can't write, and he wants Mashiro to write lyrics. But she can't be me. I can't do that. But he's like, oh, but someone once, a composer I know said like, oh, your face is full of wisdom. And then there's a reference to Herman Hesse. Had never heard of Herman Hesse, so I had to look up. I was like, well, anytime they do those like realistic face things, it's usually because that is based on a person. And yes, it is. Herman Hesse was a poet and novelist. So I was like, okay. So she proceeds to write the lyrics, and they're putting together the music. It's like, oh my God, this is going to be so great. They come back. She's looking straight out of like an idol, and she proceeds to sing the song. And I love that, honestly, looking at the lyrics, and like, it's like, ooh, this is kind of dark. It feels like it would be like a J-metal band. Like, it'd be a song by like a J-metal band or something like that, of how dark the lyrics are. There's almost like a certain like metal cadence to certain parts of the vocals, the way she was doing them. Then it's like, cool. Now they like immediately grab up everything and then go outside. And so these two people walking by see Mashiro performing her performance, and I love that like she's doing part of it, and you see her like go over to like the very like pop side of things. You don't think it's meant to be like a dark, like, I mean, I'm not that familiar with like that much J metal, so the only thing I can think of is like, well, only one I'm really familiar with is baby metal, like that cross between kind of poppiness and then metal. You know, I haven't listened to a lot of baby metal, and like I listened to like one or two songs years ago. No indictment against baby metal. I just haven't like, you know, indulged in it, you know, over the years or whatever. But like that's the only thing I can think of with like the very poppiness and then like the kind of hard. But like it's not like she's screaming it, but she's just singing like she's kind of got this very like almost chant to it. It's just, it feels like if you were to put scream vocals there, it would fit perfectly with like this very like poppy, J-poppy metal, you know? But that in conjunction with the cat spitting up the hairball and the mouse pads scared the women away. So I guess we can all say that was another complete and utter failure. Once again, what did I expect? Like I said, I thought it was going to be one option of them. I didn't know they were going to go with all three. But like I said, I gave, because all options were shit, it's like, well, we might be able to make something of it. Or maybe that plan was to always use all three. Either way, it didn't work out. Not unless we find out in the third part, because I haven't watched it yet, we find out that everything does ultimately work. Like something from the first part of the episode, a little obstacle course thing, and this does seem to turn a profit, but it's well after the fact. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, hell, even the little interstitial in between is going back to, oh my God, we have 0 hours left, and Nagumo's still bowing down to the landlord, and he's about to lick his foot. I was like, Jesus, Nagumo. So yeah, they're down to the 6 hours at this point in time, going into the third and final part of the episode. So it's going to be interesting to see how that shapes up and plays out. And now moving on to the third and final part of the episode, where you and Maki approach Nagumo about a case they're working on, because they know how much in dire straits the squad is. Apparently, word has gotten out there. What was it that they are eating severed tails off of lizards or something like that? But either way, the job is that there's a what was he like a crime boss has come, and that basically this is about exposing corruption in the MPD, and like the deputy commissioner seems to be like the person. Apparently, he has a list of people who have like ties to the Yakuza that are like connected to the police. And I love that when they, well, first and foremost, they're trying to decide, like Nagumo's trying to determine whether he'll take the job or not. And just when he's trying to give his cool line speech of course I'm going to take this job, is like sirens go off and kind of like literally drown him out. But then they're running towards where they need to go, and Nagumo obviously is super far behind. And they follow the guy into a maid cafe where both Mashiro and Maki have to play maids. And I love that guy's so persistent. He's like, come on, you know, do the thing for the food. And then Mashiro's the one that does it. She goes, okay, make it tasty. Moe, blast. And she fires a special beam cannon. She doesn't do it once. She does it near the end of the episode too. I'm like, I love that. But he ends up ultimately leaving the maid cafe without doing anything, and just seemed like a normal visit. And I love that just while they're finishing their business there, you could tell how much time has passed because it's like evening time now. And Nagumo finally catches up to him. I was like, oh, you poor bastard. Then they make their way over to an aquarium, and then like they're buying the tickets. It's like, oh, 3 poverty tickets. Ooh, student discount, Yakuza discount. And Yuspa like, don't worry, I'll pay for the tickets, Master Nagumo-san. But they go in there and it's like, we're not here to have fun. And they're like, oh my God, Maki's like, look at the crowd. And they pan over and it's literally a crowd. They even say it themselves of every side and guest character. I was like, shut up. Literally everyone is there. I even love, I love it. That's such a stupid bit, but I love it so much. And Nezu's like, oh my God, you can tell this is the finale with all these side and guest characters here. But then Maki's like, no, not that set of seats. Over there. Oh my God, the deal's going down. We need to stop it. And Mashiro runs and she's like, I'll take care of this. And then the orca in the water fire splash, and the announcer's like, oh, watch out for the splash. But it ends up coming out in the form of like a Pokemon Hydroblast. But yeah, ultimately they get caught up in the blast as well, and then Nagumo and Mashiro detain them. But it turns out, oh my God, the orca's got the suitcase. And so Mashiro's like, cool, I've been waiting for this moment to fight you. And it's like, yeah, they're about to duke it out. And it's like, oh, never mind, he's got it in his pocket. She gets hydroblasted again. And then she comes back, you know, they had the returning bit of her looking like Ryu. It's like, how are you still alive? But they look at it, and it's basically like a maid cafe card that basically the commissioner was too embarrassed to go into a maid cafe to get it, so this guy came to get it for him. He's like, oh, I thought you were a criminal. He's like, oh, I am the boss of like a criminal syndicate. And then there's pause, and then everyone's just laughing. Oh my God, you scared us. We thought this was something really criminal. I'm like, of course this is going to have like this stupid ending resolve bit. But when it's all said and done, Mashiro's completely drained. But it's like, right, they haven't come up with a solution. This job ended up being not what they thought it was, so they still didn't get paid. And it's like, damn. But, you know, Nagumo goes over, picks up Mashiro. He's like, hey, don't worry, we'll figure something out, you know. And she's like, yeah, I trust you. I almost halfway expect, because it flashbacks, it shows like Nagumo, and I think in his arms is supposed to be like a young Mashiro. Then I'm like, oh, we're gonna finally get some backstory on that. And then we hard cut back to it, like it fades back to present day. He's like struggling because his back can't take too much of it. And then finally, we get the resolution I literally said. I said last episode, I was like, please don't tell me something stupid like all the stuff in the second bit of the episode, like the music, the mouse pads, and Cerberus were going to be the reason why you got paid. It turns out it's not the music. I mean, we don't know, but mainly it's Cerberus going viral and the mouse pad selling, that now they've got a whole bunch of, like, it worked out for them. I was like, I felt like that would be the bit where it's like, it seemed like none of it worked out, and at the end you found out it did, and it exactly worked out like that. So now we get like these like little bits. It's interesting because like the most recent thing I saw in like this was there's an anime called Mecha Ood Mechanical Arms that basically ends with like a even though we don't get to see the story continue, you kind of get these like, I don't know if vignettes will be the right word, but these little like drawings of just kind of like vignettes will probably be the best word, I guess, of showing you like where the story goes, even though like because the show never got like a second season, so it's kind of like what the future could hold. You get some of those ideas and storylines like shown out, and you kind of get that in this regard. Like the first person they have as a client wants to track down Mr. Tasting, which I love that Mashiro is like, no, it was Nagumo. Like, oh my god, who's that guy in the crowd? He looks like someone that would ask you to taste his nipples. I think it might have been like Nezu or something, being like there's no way you forget about someone like him, but here's someone that fell in love with him and wants him to be tracked down. So it's like, oh, we can't let this girl know the truth about him. So he's wearing clothes on the front to pretend to be normal, but he's exposing his back just to keep himself from like, getting too hot and, stuffy. And so we're like, oh, we've got to protect, his reputation. I guess like his reputation doesn't precede him. It's just she found him and fell in love with him. I wonder, will anything come of that? Like, would they continue on to be a couple, or will they break up the next time you see them? Then the second job involved like, oh my god, this handshake situation didn't go away because it's like an idol, and then Cerberus just slaps the guy who's the criminal, and we're just like, the third job I think ended up being this thing of only young people can hear this sound, and it's you and Mashiro, but then it's like Nagumo and Maki show up, and he's like, wait, who are you? She's like, obviously we're very young people too, obviously very Steve Buscemi, like, oh, hello there fellow youths. It's very much that coded. Once again, it's like, you definitely are not that old, Maki. You're definitely not as old as Nagumo, but having to pretend like they're young. I even love that he's covering up his face with like a mask, and it's. Then there's the one where they're dealing with the Grim Reaper escaping. I'm like, what the fuck is that about? And then Azuha is firing a missile launcher. Obviously, they had to pay for like $1 million yen in damages. And I love that just recurring bit, like all these jobs they're taking, and you seeing like all the amount of money they're making, and then them losing some money because like $30,000 for the costumes for that for the third case, and then this case it was like I said, $1 million for like damages. And then the next one ended up being a Danganronpa parody. Instead, it's like Pessimistic Panda instead of Monokuma. I was like, shut up. I love it. That's so good and that's so stupid. I love it so much. And then like the final one ended up being oh no, prior to that it was like some thieves were trying to steal something, but it was like different thieves groups fighting over it, and Mashiro is, ha ha ha, you're gonna have to bow down and kiss my feet, and then immediately gets hit by a vehicle that busts through the wall. And then the final one was like a bomb disarmament, even though we kind of been through this before. And I think it's Mimasaka being like, you guys have to run for it. And Mashiro's like, don't worry, I got a parachute and everything, we'll make it. And they jump off the building, but she didn't bring any of it. And then we have Fu just casually come over, snip the wire at the last second. And she literally ending it with the title of the show, Detectives These Days Are Crazy, as Mashiro power bombs Nagumo to mitigate her like fall, and then that's the end of it. I was like, feels like we went out the way we came into this series in a lot of ways, with a massive amount of medical bills for poor Nagumo. I think, to be fair, he needed to go to hospital long before now anyway, so this could be the perfect excuse to potentially fix some of that other stuff that was already broken, or whatever was messed up and broken is obviously 10 times worse. So, hell of a weird way to end this series, but also very poetic and very in line. So at the time of me recording this, it's unclear whether or not the show is going to get a second season. It feels like this might be a one and done. The manga is still currently ongoing, so there is more stories to tell. I was trying to look it up, and maybe I won't find this information out till later on, but I was curious to see how much of the manga these episodes ended up covering. I mean, who knows, like with just the nature of what the story is, they might not have ever told these stories in like chronological order. There might have been some cases and storylines that got skipped over, or some stuff might be in different orders in the manga entirely. So we might not get a second season of it. I hope we do because I love this show, but the nature of what it is kind of like it being a one and done is fine. You just know like there's going to be more shenanigan filled adventures. I was just surprised we still didn't get any answers about like why Mashiro started working for Nagumo. I'm like, I know there's a deeper story there, so I'll probably have to read the manga to find out answers. I mean, just also to continue the story and ultimately see how it concludes, because it's probably going to conclude in a very comedic fashion. It's not going to have some like harrowing ending, and even if it does, it'll be like undercut by some like comedic thing most likely. But at the time you're recording this, the episode just came out, so there is nothing out about there being a second season. I would love it if we did get one, but if this is all that we get, I'm fine with that as well. So if this ends up being it, I'd like to thank everyone involved, especially on the on anime side of things, in front of the camera. Well, the writers, the directors, the animators, everyone involved with this production. Thank you, because I would have never known this series existed if the anime wasn't a thing. Obviously, a very big thank you to Masakuni Igarashi, the mangaka for this series, for just coming up with such a wild, weird, and kooky. I mean, this has just been just a fun time every week of just like how like off the walls and nonsensical this series is. I've run my mouth off long enough. Just like I said, it's just a fun time of a series. Once again, everyone involved, thank you. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.